Could this be Kemi Badenoch's first and last Tory conference as party leader? Less than a year into her time at the helm of a party reeling from its worst defeat in history, the stakes for the Tories this week could not be higher. I'm Charlie Rowley, and this is GB News Originals. Well, what a week it's been. As the party conference season edges to a close, what's clear is that there's one issue and one man that has dominated the headlines and headspace of our political leaders. Yes, after a tumultuous conference week in Liverpool for the Labour Party, it seems the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, lives to fight another day. It was only 15 short months ago that the Prime Minister was elected with a sizable majority, one earned largely due to the failures of the Tories, but also one that focused on growing the economy and smashing the gangs. But what have we seen? Tax increases through raising national insurance contributions, British territory sold off, an attack on our farmers, winter fuel payments snatched from the elderly, a botched attempt at welfare reform, and a record 50,000 illegal boat crossings into the UK. Not to mention the raft of resignations, the failure to set up a national inquiry into the grooming gang scandal, the policing of our tweets over our streets, and the failure to deport dangerous foreign criminals because of their human rights to enjoy a life free from chicken nuggets. Yes, it's no surprise then that with the worst personal poll ratings of any leader since coming to office, and leading a party that's policies and subsequent U-turns have landed worse than a drunken pilot on a Jet2 holiday, that the former Director of Public Prosecutions was looking to come out fighting and shift the blame onto others rather than take responsibility for his government's own actions. And by others, I mean just one. The man in the dock, yes, you've guessed it, Nigel Farage. The leader of Reform UK, who the Prime Minister was all too keen at one stage to mockingly label as the real leader of the opposition, he is now consistently polling 10 points clear and has been articulating for months the number one issue that this government and the last have failed to grapple with: illegal immigration. Not irregular migration, as the Home Office tried to wokefully describe it as, but illegal. Because language matters. For when the British public have tried to raise genuine concerns about the numbers, the Prime Minister and his team have been on the wrong side of the argument at every turn. Take the Southport riots of summer 2024, where the Prime Minister labelled anyone with genuine concerns about immigration and integration as part of a far-right bandwagon. The sacked leader of the House of Commons, and now in the running to be Labour's next deputy leader, Lucy Powell, described the grooming gang scandal as mere dog whistle. And the Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister tried to take us all for fools, telling us the majority of people crossing the Channel in small boats were women and children. It was all nonsense then, and it still is today. But it seems the backlash from those missteps wasn't enough to change Labour's course, so this week they doubled down. And at the start of the week, the Prime Minister labelled Reform UK's tougher stance on immigration, and by implication its leader, Nigel Farage, members and supporters, racist. The new Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, went further to say that Nigel Farage's plans were, and I quote, worse than racist. And the Deputy Prime Minister, David Lammy, went further still, wrongly stating that Nigel Farage had somehow been a supporter of the Hitler Youth. Why? All because Nigel Farage and Reform have been saying what for a long, long time the silent majority of the British public have been thinking: that immigration levels are simply too high. That much of the focus of attracting workers from overseas on lower wages to fill certain jobs that could easily be carried out by the ever-growing number of people already in the UK currently unemployed or not in employment, education or training should be given priority. And it has been too easy for those coming from abroad only to claim benefits and bring dependents who end up not contributing, not integrating and relying on the rest of society, including those who have come from abroad to work and pay their taxes, to bail them out. In short, it's all about fairness. It simply isn't fair that illegal immigrants are placed in hotels and other accommodation when in the UK we have veterans still sleeping rough. It simply isn't fair that people who wake up every morning, work hard, play by the rules and do the right thing can't get a dentist or doctor's appointment. And it simply isn't fair for law-abiding Brits who care about their communities, that care about the future of this country, are being called plastic patriots. The language used by Labour this week was nothing more than a calculated, targeted verbal assault on Nigel Farage and reform and the British public supporting their cause. And in case it needed to be pointing out, those attacks spectacularly backfired. Because it is not racist or far-right to talk about immigration. It is not racist or far-right to ask people coming into a country to make a contribution before taking out, to integrate and speak the language. And it is not racist or far-right to want to deport those who come to the UK, who commit crimes on our streets, to be told to leave. So the gloves are off, it seems. For now, it feels very much like Labour versus Reform, Sir Keir versus Nigel. But what next then for the Conservative Party, who for the last 14 years occupied power but so badly lost at the ballot box in last year's general election? The media and political world's attention now turns to Manchester, where the Tory party faithfuls are gathering for their annual conference. It's the first time for Kemi Badenoch as party leader, but still with many questions and doubts about her leadership, could it be her last? The party has polled fourth, behind the Lib Dems, and seen a raft of defections to Reform UK, including former cabinet ministers David Jones and Nadine Dorries, a former party chairman, Jake Berry, and most recently, Boris Johnson ally and all-round respected thinker, Danny Kruger MP. Any more that cross the floor ahead of the Conservative get-together, and that would be seen as a massive coup for Reform UK, and the worst of starts for Kemi Badenoch, who's promised this year to be more fun than the usual corporate affair. Well, not long to find out. The theme in Manchester, stronger economy, stronger borders. An attempt to focus the public's mind on the two biggest issues the country faces and offer attractive solutions to our nation's problems. We're told there'll be opportunities for open debate amongst members, and where the party sets out its position on tearing up commitments to net zero and attempting to position itself as the only party committed to responsible public spending. But whilst they may have the issues that voters care about most at hand, the question is, who is the party that can actually be able to deliver? And on that front, the Tories have a mountain to climb. Since 2010, under David Cameron, the Conservatives pledged to bring the levels of immigration down from the hundreds of thousands to the tens of thousands. It failed. And a party that always stood for cutting taxes put them up. The reason, particularly in the last few years, they would argue, was due to two major economic events of Brexit and COVID colliding, prompting unprecedented mass movement, now dubbed the Boris Wave. And whilst that might be true to a small extent for legal migration, it is certainly no excuse for the rise of small boat crossings that has been to the detriment of public services and pressure on our housing, the welfare bill ballooning, rising crime, and well, you know the rest. And even when the Labour government this week announced an end to what has been described as the golden ticket for illegal immigrants, receiving more benefits and priorities above those coming into the UK legally, but above all, UK citizens, the failure to tackle this injustice will be one both the Labour Party and Reform UK will pin on the Conservatives for years to come. Not to mention being seen as a party with a record of division and infighting, a reputation for chopping and changing its leader. It's a record that will no doubt be played in the background of the Manchester Conference Hall as Kemi Badenoch makes her pitch to the nation as to why she and her party should be given a second chance. Because what it all comes down to, folks, is the public trust. Who does the public believe can stop the small boat crisis? Who is the leader that will lower your taxes, cut crime, and reduce the wasteful spend of taxpayers' money? And who do you really think best believes in Britain and is the proudest patriot, happy to fly our flag? With all the parties seemingly dancing to Nigel's tune, the fight for the future of this country is well and truly on.